Content warning. This episode contains a discussion of a scene depicting sexual assault. This discussion occurs from 12 minutes to 14 minutes and 1 second.
This is Rating Descending,
Where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
My name is Abigail Ward.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And tonight we watched Basic Instinct 2. Novelist Catherine Trammell is once again in trouble with the law, and Scotland Yard appoints psychiatrist Dr. Michael Glass to evaluate her. Though, like Detective Nick Curran before him, Glass is entranced by Trammell and lured into a seductive game. Let's watch. What a shit tagline.
So long. That's not a tagline, that's a pitch.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Ridiculous.
We talked about this a little bit at the end of the last episode, but Basic Instinct 2 is a bit of a silly name for a sequel. There's nothing, like, I keep laughing in the weeks leading up to this, knowing that this was coming, just looking at Basic Instinct 2 and having a little chuckle. I was saying this to my girlfriend, when it's something like a thriller or a... I'm trying so hard. It's so sweaty.
Welcome to the show.
No.
Suckers!
Oh my God. Please, first-time listeners, stay with us. Are you with me?
Don't shame me for my bodily functions. I got a little gas. I need to do a little burp.
If anyone can shame you for your bodily functions, it's me.
Why?
Because that's just my brand. I don't know. So if it's like a mystery, you just call it something else. This was Basic Instinct, and then it's like Running Highway, and it's Nick Curran is solving another mystery or something, right? Like, but Basic Instinct 2 is a really silly name that I think should go in the pantheon of bad or weird sequel names.
That's actually it's a good point that you make, in that like a lot of mysteries and thrillers don't tend to do just a something too, like an action film would. A lot of the time it's something to tell us the tone of the film.
Yeah.
In a kind of, because this is it's an erotic thriller. So it's like Basic Instinct does sound like an erotic thriller.
Yeah.
Basic instinct, primal, passion, sex, like that makes sense. So this would be like carnal passion or something like that, you know, some bullshit.
That's great.
That's what it would be called.
That's awesome.
Basic Instinct 2.
This is just about the second instinct that you have on a very basic level.
This would be like Primal
Nugget.
Primal Recall.
Primal Recall.
Another Paul Verhoeven, why not?
Simple Fuckfest. Hang on. Low level nut time.
Low level nut time.
I like that more than Basic Instinct 2. It's like I fully expect Knives Out 2, as we've all been calling it, will not be called Knives Out 2.
It's Knives In.
That's good. It's just Knives Out is specific to that mystery. You can't then have him solve a different mystery and it's still called Knives Out. It's why Now You See Me and Now You See Me Too. Now you don't. Now you don't.
That's such a good point.
Star Wars had it right the first time when they were just like Star Wars. Oh, what's the next one? Star Wars 2? No, Empire Strikes Back. And you're like, what?
You know what you should be, Michelle? You should be like a movie namer for hire. They call it a sequeler. Right?
She comes in,
she
like the
fixes all your
Equalizer.
problems. You got a film you can't name.
I'm like the wolf in Pulp Fiction, but instead all I do is someone solves their problem with the name. I think Pixar actually has a guy that does that for names, and he came up with Cars.
Hey, I just had a thought. What if Pixar's new film was about a little... wait, hang on.
Okay. Little is good.
There's the next Pixar film is about the next royal family of Russia, except they're all pigs, and it's called the Pig Tsar.
What? What do you mean the next royal family of Russia?
Yeah, because it's a new royal family of Russia because they're bringing back the Tsars and they're pigs. So it's called the Pig Tsar.
So it's about restoring the monarchy?
Yeah.
And they're pigs, like in Animal Farm?
But it's called Pig Tsar. Get it?
I think if they
Get
contemplate
it?
the nature of being a human being more, then it'll be more like modern Pixar. But currently, it's mostly about restoring the monarchy in what is, I think, unintentionally, a very confusing metaphor with
cute,
Animal Farm.
But it's cute because they're pigs.
Where the
and,
pig is
but
Stalin.
they're Russian pigs, and they're also little princes. And they're pig tsars. Because it's made by Pixar. Do you get it?
I do.
They're little princes and they're pigs.
Yeah,
what if they're like, there's a revolution at our doors, and they're like, oink, oink. That'd be pretty
Wait,
cute.
so everyone else is human beings, but they're pigs?
They're little pigs.
They're little pigs?
Yeah, and they have little capes and crowns on.
So everyone else is fully human beings. It's modern day Russia.
Yeah.
Putin is about to invade Ukraine. I might need to edit that to has, depending on when this comes out.
Oh, shit.
Also, you say new royal family. People, unless they are currently the monarchs, they're not a royal family. They're just a family.
But they're the new royal family because they've just been instated as the royal family.
So are we
They're a new
opening
royal
and
family.
Putin has just been overthrown and replaced
been
with
beheaded
some pigs?
by King Pig.
He's been beheaded by King Pig.
The Little Pig Tsars.
Very confusing given the prominence of pig as Stalin metaphor in Animal Farm.
Okay, let me break it down for you,
No,
idiot.
I think I get it.
King Pig beheads Putin, and there's a little bunch of pigs, and they're all going to be the next Tsar.
Can't it just not be Russia? Can't it just be a fictional country?
No, because it's Pig Tsar.
Okay, but Tsars aren't actually exclusive to Russia.
But no one gives a shit about the other countries.
Whoa.
No, I know there's Hungarian Tsars, but who gives a fuck?
Hey, Ukrainian listeners, please hold in there.
Do you know what's something interesting about Tsars? Totally off topic from the Little Pig Tsars,
they're
which
just
is
named
a
after
fucking
Caesar, right?
absolutely
So like a Kaiser is the same
viable
thing.
hot spot and pot of ideas.
You're a screenwriter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
So off topic now.
Sure.
The first Tsar ever.
Yeah, we're on topic.
This isn't like Russia specific, just Tsar specific. The first Tsar was a guy called Simon the First, and then the last Tsar in like the fucking 40s was a young boy called Simon the Second, which is wild because the first Tsar and the last Tsar of every country that could possibly have a Tsar, not particular to one country, and that's insane. Because imagine the first. Oh no, they're not of the same country.
Well, yeah, and
but
also
that's Simon the First and Simon the Second.
The first Tsar was Julius Augustus Caesar because it's all named after. Like Tsar is just a corruption.
I guess they're thinking
Caesar,
of like
as is Kaiser.
No, maybe this is specifically for Hungary then.
Okay, that's cool then.
Did you like that fact?
I think.
Let's get back to the point. Little pigs, and they're really cute. But they don't go. They go oink. So they say oink.
What kind of instincts do these pigs have? Come on, you can do it. Make the pivot. Stick the landing.
Pig Tsars.
Stick the landing. Come on, you can do this. You can do this. Please get us out of here. You can do it.
Wait, going back to sequels.
Nail it. No.
Wait, going back to sequels.
Oh, I know one sequel.
Shut the fuck up. This is my episode, baby. Going back to sequels. You know how like there's that famous joke of like something to Electric Boogaloo?
Yes.
And then you
very
very much fucking hate that joke because it's completely overdone.
It's not funny anymore.
I shudder with fear if anyone makes that joke around you.
It's not original. You're not being clever. Have more of an insight. The Squeakquel, friend of the podcast, Shane Anderson, is a big fan of Back in the Habit.
Nice. That
is
good.
That's great.
That is good.
If this was Basic Instinct 2, Back in the Habit, I would fucking scream.
But it is Whoopi Goldberg coming in as Catherine Trammell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, it's so funny that you brought up sequels, almost as if it was planned. This is a sequel. It's called Basic Instinct 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we did it.
we made it.
We're in there. We're in it. We're down in the we're down in the trenches now.
What?
Please, I haven't slept in days. The artillery's been going all night. I think my foot's gone. I'm so cold. I'm in these trenches.
Your foot's gone.
I think my foot's gone.
Do you want to check?
Stuck in these. Well, no, I'm shivering and I'm barely holding it together.
Do you want me to check on your foot?
No, what I'm saying is you're pretty sure from seeing the state that I'm in that I might just die of infection.
I just find it odd that you wouldn't check your foot if you think it's gone.
I'm saying it's hard for me emotionally, and you're going to check my foot, see if it's too far gone, and then you're going to tell me it's okay because you know I'm going to die anyway any moment. Okay?
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll have a look at the foot.
Check my foot.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
All right, look at it.
Oh, it's fucking gone. I mean, it looks good. Who else has got feet?
Why'd you make Simon die terrified? I'm from the South, but I moved to England in 1913. Woe is me, huh?
I love this guy. Great backstory. Rich in character.
Yeah. My name's Jeremy Clarkson Sr.
You got a foot I can look at.
Basic Instinct 2 was wild.
Give me your foot. I just love looking at feet.
What the fuck?
Let me look at that little fucking...
We have an episode to do.
Basic Instinct 2. Did I say basic?
I think so.
Basic Instinct 2.
I think this is one of the wildest movies we've done in a hot moment.
I really enjoyed this one because it gave me a reason to fucking watch Basic Instinct 1, which I had never seen before.
You
ever.
haven't seen it before?
So like obviously I know all of like I knew the plot generally, I know the famous scene, I know who was in it, but it's one of those films where it's like it's just a Hollywood blockbuster that you know everything about, so when people talk about it, you almost just don't have this drive to watch it.
Blockbuster is an interesting term to use. It's a studio film, but it wasn't a blockbuster.
I think of it as a blockbuster. I say blockbuster loosely in that I feel like when I think of blockbusters, I just think of very famous American films made in California that made a lot of money.
I feel like it has to have a certain caliber of like budget, if anything. Also, it was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who's not even American.
Yeah, but Paul Verhoeven did fucking Total Recall, which is a blockbuster.
That's a blockbuster.
But I think Paul Verhoeven's genre was so...
It's got to bust blocks.
It is a noir, but I thought it's not an action film, but I generally think of it as just a big Hollywood film.
I agree with that.
I recant my use of blockbuster.
I don't know if I've actually ever rewatched it. I watched it first when I was 14 because my mum showed it to me because my mum is a wild woman who wanted me to watch a lot of cinema.
Yeah, look, my mum showed me a lot of like action films and violent films, but I don't think my mum ever showed me like graphic sex scenes or like...
That's the difference between our mothers.
You said that your mum showed you Dangerous Liaisons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mum was very good at normalizing sex and sexuality, which is why it's wild
that you have so many hang-ups.
Yeah. I've already seen Basic Instinct, but I did rewatch it literally this morning. I remembered it as good, and it was better than I remembered. I was like,
so
holy
good.
fuck.
It's like, it feels like you're watching a Hitchcock film. Like it's
propulsive. It's good.
Yeah, it's got great characters. The dialogue is fantastic.
The way it's shot,
it's
man.
Beautiful. It's really atmospheric.
Beautiful.
Like
the way
Paul
it moves
Verhoeven
the camera.
is amazing.
Oh, yeah,
I'm becoming later in life a huge Paul Verhoeven fan.
He's so good. Basic Instinct 1, like many Verhoeven movies, though, is like wall-to-wall incredible, and then with a couple moments of, whoa, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Look,
what the hell?
I don't want to say it's like a product of its time, because it's not. People should know better. But the rape scene was fucked up. Like, they play it as if it's not... Like, I feel like it's the elephant in the room talking about Basic Instinct. They try and play that scene as if it's not a rape scene.
But like, it's because they also play it as clearly a bad thing that he's done. They want to have it both ways.
Yeah, I was so taken aback by the rape scene in Basic Instinct. I was looking it up, and there's so many articles being like, Basic Instinct would not be made right now, like, and like in light of like the Me Too movement, the way it handles women and the way it handles sexuality and like rape doesn't necessarily fly in a lot of ways. I think it's good to depict sexuality on screen. It's more that rape scene was really fucked up.
I do agree. Like, you couldn't include that scene. I think a lot of it, though, I don't know as much why you wouldn't be able to do it. Again, a lot of it is portrayed as like not healthy. It's not modeling healthy sexual relationships.
Yeah,
like
100%.
We can still have things that are flawed. We just don't need it to also be sexual assault shown on screen.
I mean, okay, so here's something for you. The famous like vulva exposure scene.
Yeah.
Sharon Tate didn't know that it was going to make it into... Sorry, Sharon Stone didn't know it was going to make it into the film.
I didn't know that. Oh my God.
Yeah, she basically says like Paul Verhoeven, like she asked him to take it out and he said no. And then they had a dispute about it and she was like, no, we remain good friends. And I realized it should remain in the film, but I did ask him to take it out and he said no. And I was reading that being like, fuck this. Like, that changes my entire opinion of him. But like, and there's also like a lot of sources where Paul Verhoeven is like, no, she knew, she's making that up. But I have to say, I want to side with Sharon Stone because it's her fucking vulva here. So I don't know what is true, but reading that, I'm like, well, now there's like a level of discomfort around this. And now if this was 2022 and that happened, women would be able to stand up for themselves and be like, I don't want this in my fucking film. So there's that element to it as well. But there's some really interesting articles about the way that Basic Instinct has aged. Despite that, such a fun film. Like, it is a fun film. It's Basic Instinct 2.
Oh my God. It's just immediately begins and it's so wild. It's one of the craziest things we've seen recently. Like, it literally opens. They're driving really like 100 miles an hour apparently.
In London. Not in
central London. No other cars are on the street in central London. There's this guy, I can't remember his name. There's this guy, he looks over, he looks very stoned and he's like, I can't move. And then Sharon Stone's character says, you don't have to. you're in a car. And that was where I knew exactly what we were in for. And I was like, hell yes, please give me this movie.
For me, I was really taken aback by Sharon Stone's haircut in this film because it looked fucking atrocious on her. Like, that was the first thing I noticed, is that she had this like layered cut that made her look a lot older somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it made her look like an older woman.
Absolutely. The worst haircut we've seen on this list, and I wonder if it might end up staying that way.
It's like even Joan Jett's hair wasn't as choppy as this.
In the first film, her hair is like pinned up, luscious, a really like kind of like mid to dark shade of blonde, and it's beautiful. And in this, it's like clearly straightened, very choppy. It has the worst
platinum.
fringe, like
It's
as
dyed
bad as Courtney Cox in I think Scream 3, where she has the sort of even choppier than Turf Bangs sort of look. It's as choppy as that. And it's always out. So it's the least flattering thing you've ever seen. Also in the first one, she dresses like someone who, like a wealthy white person.
She dresses so well. She's wearing lots of
Immaculately.
like, she looks like she's wearing a cashmere fucking tank top with a beautiful coat.
She's
like,
not dressing flashy is important to me. Because
Yeah.
in this, she dresses like someone who has just heard of fashion.
Yeah, she dresses
Like,
incredibly
It's
like,
wild.
I hate to use this term, but she looks incredibly classy in the first one, like very
Yeah.
wealthy.
Yeah.
And she wears a lot of whites and creams. She dresses amazingly in that first one. And in this one, it's just,
It's craziness.
yeah, she dresses in a lot of really jagged blacks and silvers and like with these like really like sharp stilettos. It's just,
I didn't think you could make Sharon Stone look awful, and they
Yeah.
did it. They managed it.
Yeah.
She looks terrible.
Yeah.
These awful outfits and the least flattering haircut I've ever seen.
that first opening scene where
Yeah.
you see her and she's like, you don't need to move, you're in a car. And then she takes his hand and puts it down her pants and gets off while she drives them into a river.
Yeah.
I was like, what a start. This absolute fucking fuckfest of a movie.
It's also immediately jarring. Like the first, it's like dark, noirish, shadows, also like piercing highlights at all times. It's very warm and brown in the first one, even at nighttime. And then it starts and it's like flat wash of like blue. Everything's brightly lit, no shadows, even though it's nighttime. All like slick digital looking. It looks so aggressively ugly, even for this list. I was like, wow, the budget got cut into like, what, an eighth? It was nothing. It was like made for TV. This whole thing had made for the BBC energy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, it's set in England, which is bizarre.
A weird choice.
And the lead in this is David Morrissey. And David Morrissey, I usually like as an actor.
I love David Morrissey.
I really liked him in the Our Mutual Friend adaptation in the late 90s.
I love him in Walking Dead, which we brought up last week.
Yeah, he's in The Walking
so
Dead.
good.
But like, he was just shocking in this. At least I just found him really difficult to watch because the character was so flat.
He's not given much to work with. In the first one, part of the whole shtick is that like Nick Curran, the Michael Douglas character, is also clearly not all there. So when he's dealing with these two women, it's revealed eventually to maybe be two women who also are like manipulating him and stuff. You're like, we can barely trust his ability to keep it together, right? And you realize that quite early. And David Morrissey in this kind of isn't given that.
Yeah.
He's also not a detective. He's an analyst. So he spends a lot of the movie not trying to solve it.
Yeah.
Which is a weird move for a mystery.
I don't understand how he's enticed by her. I don't understand his motivations at any time.
The tension of the first movie is, did she do it? And we don't even know until the very end. And then we see the final shot and we
it's like,
still go,
"Eyes peek under the bed."
did she do it?
Yeah.
Did she do it? Well, it's never like confirmed.
But this film was like, she did it.
By having her be the star of the sequel, you go, oh, she did it.
Yeah. And it's like, I didn't want that mystery solved.
And it means whenever it's like, did she do it? I'm like, yeah, she did it. It's her. She did it.
Yeah, I think I read on the Wikipedia page, it was like, Catherine Trammell, the serial killer. And I was like, lame.
Boring.
And like, this has a good cast of British actors. It has fucking David Morrissey as
Indira
Dr.
Varma?
Michael Glass. It has, Indira Varma as Denise Glass. It has Hugh Dancy
Indira
from fucking Hannibal
Yeah.
as Adam Towers. It's also got David Thewlis as Roy Washburn.
A recurring actor in this list from Island of Dr. Moreau.
It has Charlotte Rampling, who's an iconic fucking 60s actress, playing like the Dr. Milena Gardosh, the really beautiful older woman.
Yeah.
She was just, she's a real like icon of 60s and 70s cinema and was a real it girl for a long time. And to see her in this,
Bit of a bummer.
The cast is fantastic.
It is. If you told me that David Thewlis, one of my favorite actors, was going to be on this worst 250 list twice, and we're like not even halfway, I would have cried. I would have been like, no, I cry foul.
Why is he one of your favorite actors?
I think he has a very particular charm, right?
Is it his northern accent?
I do like his northern accent. I think he's very good at diving into the character, at depicting certain kinds of characters. I also think he's very like good at being warm as well as being cold, and he knows how to like modify how he's expressing. Like some actors are very good at like being themselves, but then still modifying that. Even some like Keanu Reeves or even Ryan Gosling are good at being like blank slates, which is very valuable in film. David Thewlis is someone who like, if we gave him the kind of roles that we used to give like Johnny Depp, we would realize that he's a chameleon, right? Like him being in Anomalisa and Island of Dr. Moreau and Harry Potter and this, he's got a great range. I think he's very charming. I really like him. He's very funny in his brief appearance in The Big Lebowski as well. Yeah, he's great. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, you're doing a good job, man.
Yeah,
he's great.
He doesn't often disappoint.
Yeah.
Like he has like a certain gravitas to him. But yeah, it's an amazing cast. It's just, I don't understand so many aspects of this film.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to give you some insight into the director, but I'll do the overview first. This film was made in 2006 and it has 4.4 stars.
It's 14 years after the original.
14 years. And actually, there's a lot, I'll delve into this later, but talks about making a sequel were like started way back in the late 90s, and this was due to be filmed in 2000, but it fell through.
Oh my god!
For like a number of reasons, but it ended up being made in 2006. It was directed by Michael Caton Jones. Obviously, Paul Verhoeven had nothing to do with this project.
Is that one person or three people? Michael Caton Jones.
It sounds like a weird knockoff version of like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
Michael Caton Jones. He has a lot to say about making this film. Just to give you some insight before we actually delve into the film itself and the trivia. Michael Caton Jones recalled later that making this movie was a painful experience and said, "The reaction I couldn't care less about. It was the experience of making it that was horrible.
Oh my god.
And I knew before I started that it wasn't going to be a particularly good film, which is a very painful thing." When he was interviewed later by Empire magazine, he said, "I remember coldly thinking, this is the worst filmmaking experience of my life.
Oh my god.
But my memory of it is a good thing. We tried to give it a look." I don't know what that means. "And I was very happy with it. I had a difficult time with Sharon, but I had a great time with all the other actors."
Wow.
Yeah. Turns out Sharon Stone later in life turned into a bit of a difficult person. But this is my overview. In London, Catherine Trammell plunges her car into the river, killing the passenger, a famous footballer. Catherine begins therapy with Dr. Glass, who has conducted a court-ordered psychiatric examination and has given testimony in her case. Glass suspects Catherine is a narcissist and becomes increasingly frustrated and intrigued by her. Murders begin to surface around Dr. Glass, including his own ex-wife, and he begins to suspect that Catherine is really committing the murders.
We're in the middle of the overview.
That hurt. When the London police begin to suspect Glass, he confronts Catherine at her apartment, but they have sex. After reading her newest novel, Glass realizes that Trammell has novelized all of the recent events. When he reads that his colleague, Dr. Gardosh, is the next villain, he rushes to save her. Catherine, however, is already with Gardosh, who tells Glass he can't be Catherine's therapist anymore. Detective Washburn arrives at the scene, and Catherine manipulates Glass into shooting him. Glass gets institutionalized, and it's revealed that Catherine manipulated him to commit the murder.
Well,
all the murders.
Revealed is relative. She's still being like, but maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe.
But she definitely did.
But she did.
Yeah. And we saw the opening scene.
Yeah, we saw the opening scene. We've the opening scene of Basic Instinct 1, we just see a blonde woman having sex with someone and then stabbing them with an ice pick. And we see this blonde woman and we're like, it's her. But then we later find out that the person who kind of takes the fall was blonde.
I love how this film is still trying to make us think that maybe it's her and maybe it isn't. And it's like, Catherine Trammell just has murder around her at all times. Like, how is it possibly not her 2 films in a row?
Yeah, they even discussed that in the first film of like, you can only get away with it so many times.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, especially because
something's got to give, Catherine.
Because Michael Douglas isn't in it, that is more than anything the giveaway. Because we're like, right. So
where is he?
So if he's not solving other mysteries, then she did it.
Yeah.
Because she killed him.
Yeah, 100%.
She's not just an author.
There's
we're
no
following.
mystery anymore. There's none.
Which means the first half of the movie feels like nothing happens at all. Because again, he's not a detective. He's just a therapist. So he's not solving the mystery at all. He's just hanging out. It takes like 30 minutes for them to even acknowledge that Basic Instinct 1 happened. I actually fully thought, and I wrote this down, I wanted to ask you, like, the first half of it scans as written as a like pilot for a BBC detective show that they then got the rights to Basic Instinct and they were like, oh, make it this. And it's only the back half of it where they try and redo the plot of the first one badly that feels actually like Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Is it like is it a BBC production? Why does it feel like it's for fucking TV? It's so...
It's not. I mean, I didn't necessarily look into the production house at all, but I don't think it's funded by the BBC.
This is like the worst episode of Luther I've ever seen.
No, Luther was way better than this.
No, that's what I mean. Luther is great, but what if you watched an episode of Luther in which instead of following him, we follow his friend who doesn't try and solve the mystery for like 60 minutes?
I just think that David Morrissey does not have the star power that Michael Douglas has. It's just a fact. Even though Michael Douglas had to get a fucking facelift for the first film, apparently.
Really?
I've done a bunch of Basic Instinct research. He like got a facelift right beforehand because he was like, I need to look young and sexy, and he's fucking 47 at the time.
Oh my God.
I
okay.
know.
Well, then the facelift worked because he didn't look 47. He was great.
He looked 40.
I thought he looked like
a good 7 years
mid-30s.
Late you reckon?
Well, you know, some people in their mid-30s start looking like like I feel like we go like, oh, I know exactly how old someone is. No, you look 18 and then you look 30 and then you look 45. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? People who are 30 often still look like they're fucking 25 because you just think that 30-year-olds should look like they're 40.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought he seemed age appropriate even though he was like 15 years older than I thought he was.
I just like, there's so many things to always just get angry about in terms of like women represented in any American film, and it comes up again and again. But I fucking hate that these beautiful young women are paired with these old men requiring facelifts.
Weird. It is weird.
Yeah, it's not normal.
Okay, so this is sort of a background recurring thing is our like agreement that all of these things that we critique movies on, like sometimes you're actually missing the point by critiquing a single new movie about it.
Yeah.
But the problem is how systemic it is, right? So like, I'm not going to say like Basic Instinct is bad because he's older, but it's weird when you notice how many movies do that and how frequent it is over regular relationships.
And that's the thing, like we've had this discussion. You can criticize things without writing it off.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that because Michael Douglas is 47 with a facelift, it's a condemnable movie. I'm complaining about the trend of it occurring, but I still fucking loved Basic Instinct. And like maybe that sounds hypocritical, but I stand by it. Like I believe that you can pick the pieces of art that you enjoy and still criticize other pieces of it. And that is because I'm a fucking adult and I know how to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong and embrace things that are bad and embrace things that are good.
Babies, go home.
Well, no, babies,
you're not welcome.
No, babies are welcome. No,
not welcome.
Michelle.
Toddlers,
no,
get out of here.
No, Michelle. No,
little
we're
kids,
super baby friendly here. Super toddler friendly. We love the baby community. We love the toddler community.
Pre-teens,
Michelle.
Yuck. What are you doing?
You're gonna get us fucking
Mid-teens,
canceled.
you're starting to get into it. Adults, we're here for you.
We
Babies,
just lost half of our listenership. It's all those sweet little babies.
We've been cornering the baby market, and now we're losing it. No, we're playing the long game though, because when those babies become adults with purchasing power, we're going to be raking it in, assuming capitalism is still a thing in 20 years. Where are we at with Basic Instinct?
I don't know. I'm really just thinking about babies tuning into Rating Descending every day.
One of the things that I thought was particularly like... Okay, so this is also a recurring thing on this podcast is dialogue.
Yeah.
I think part of it comes from a lot of these movies, and this one especially. Like the whole thing about Basic Instinct and thrillers and noirs like this is about manipulation and psychology, which means there's a lot of lines that are about like fucking with your head and trying to get in and understanding people and all of that. And whoever wrote this, I think, might think that they're as smart, but they're not. The dialogue is, as I've described other dialogue, turgid. It's bad, and it's also surface level and dumb.
Yeah.
It's really bad. The whole characterization of Catherine Trammell feels very different. She's like really put together in the first one and kind of like withholding with her words. And in this, she's like saying everything. She's like, oh, are you feeling this, huh? Do you think maybe that I could be a killer? Oh, do you think that maybe
because
this is?
the thing is, because of the first one, she is a suspect in a case, which means that the main character, Nick, seeks her out a lot. But in this, she's seeking Michael out a lot. It's like she's coming to him a lot, being like, I want you to be my therapist and I don't want to be pushed away. And it's like, well, now you seem desperate for his attention. And that's not the Catherine Trammell that we met in the first film. Yeah. This is such a different character altogether.
It's completely different. And there's also things like when he's first presenting the case that is meant to, like, I guess, get her out of having obviously killed the soccer player in the beginning, he's like, oh, she's addicted to risk. She's a harm to the people around it. And I feel like it's presented as if it's like, only a genius psychiatrist would think of something like this. What a slam dunk. Risk addiction? No one would. She's a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. She was driving 100 miles an hour in the middle of London. Yeah, I know. I know that she likes risk.
The scene that she's driving 100 miles an hour in the middle of London really threw me back to Drive, was it called? No, not Drive.
Driven?
Driven!
Yeah.
In that insane
Well, Drive is when they're going. Driven is, they've already done it.
It's not about the journey. It's about it being over.
Yeah. It's about when you
drive,
have driven.
Yeah, when Sylvester Stallone and that fucking kid are just like racing through the empty streets of Chicago at like fucking 200 miles per hour.
But there at least there was other cars and there were expert drivers, so there was other people. This is just completely empty. It made me think it was going like, all right, Basic Instinct 2. We open on a devastated London, completely shut down. Maybe it was the middle of COVID and that was the problem. She's fucking flouting the restrictions as well because she's addicted to risk.
That's what I did every fucking weekend during 2020 lockdown. I'd just go straight to the Melbourne CBD and be fucking shooting up and down Collins Lane.
Yeah, mate.
Even fucking Little Burke Street. That's how fucking badass
and you
I
were
am.
going, I mean, whatever 100 miles is, convert it into kilometers. Hang on.
Yeah, baby. You know it.
Miles. 100 miles.
It's like
160 kilometers an hour. That's a lot of kilometers an hour.
That's very fast.
I don't think there's any roads you're allowed to do that in Australia.
No, but one time...
That seems naughty.
Don't tell the police. But one time when I was going on a little trip with my friend Jarvia...
Where's this going?
Oh my God. Just you wait. We were desperate to get to our hotel in time, and we were on these like wide, flat stretches of road with literally no one in sight. We were so in the back end of everything. And we just wanted to get to the hotel before nightfall because we knew how cold and icy the roads were going to get. And it was like 110 on that road, and I gunned it at like 130, 140, baby. And I was on my red peas. Lock me up.
Got her, boys. Woo! That's not even an alarm. That's just all of them celebrating. Woo!
You've been planted in my life for 9 years to extract that story out of me finally.
Gotcha.
You don't probe. You just wait for it to come your way.
Well, it's like how Al Capone got done by tax evasion, not by killing people. You actually have killed many people, but we're getting you on speeding.
Yeah.
The famously, like, jailable offense.
And hopefully I just die of a heart attack while in prison.
Yeah.
Is that what he died of? A heart attack? I don't know, man.
I wasn't there.
Oh.
I don't fucking know.
How fortunate is it that like Capone went to prison for like 11 years because of tax evasion, and luckily he just died in that sentence rather than surviving through and basically getting to leave and restart his mafia.
It's crazy coincidence.
Crazy coincidence.
So strange.
You were in that jail, weren't you? What did you do to Capone,
I wasn't
baby?
There. And then you find records of my facelift so that I look like I'm 27.
You've got an ice pick in your hand.
I have an ice pick.
You're just riding Capone's cock, ready to fucking kill him.
Oh, fuck Capone. You fucking evaded those taxes. Holy shit.
I think the idea of this, it's not funny because it's Capone. It's just funny because you're fucking a man. Like, that's the funnier bit of it.
That's the hardest to
just
believe
can't imagine
part of
you.
the... Not that I'm like 100 years old and I'm fucking Al Capone. It's that I'm fucking a man. Well, little did you know, historical fact, they called him a man, but it's actually a
trans
woman.
icon.
Yeah, trans icon Al
Ally.
Capone. The Al is short for ally.
Elliot Ness should be ashamed of what he did to Capone. Trans icon.
It's just prejudice.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I forget. I can't believe I talked to all about the dialogue and I forgot one of the lines. At the end, when she was like psychoanalyzing him in like the worst psychoanalysis I've ever heard in my life. It's like, oh, you're attracted to people like that, huh? Some guys are into blondes. some guys are into killers. Boo.
I don't know how Sharon Stone did such an incredible performance in 1992, and this performance was by far one of the worst I've seen in this fucking list. I felt her performance was so cringy because she wasn't trying to be funny. She was trying to be sexy and evil, and that's more embarrassing when you get it wrong. Like, it just is. Like, I feel like when someone's not funny, it's like fine, but when people are trying to be sexy and enigmatic and it's not flying, it's 10 times worse.
You know what the whole thing reminded me of? And again, the dialogue really felt this as well.
Is it something to do with Capone again? I'm obsessed with that guy.
No, stop.
Good memories.
I'm not going to withhold the scrutiny of this. No, it's like I've been to a reasonable amount of film festivals and stuff, and I both as a time as a tutor, but I'm more thinking about my time as a student, like other student films and amateur films and stuff. And like the dialogue often feels like it's just part of like an acting show reel, like an exercise you do in class.
Yeah.
Especially the like interview scene, the like breakdown scene in the beginning where they're talking to each other the first time. And she is doing the role that like so many guys, especially, but not exclusively, so many people I knew at film school think that they can write is like the genius, sexy, enigmatic killer.
Always.
And again, like I don't think you do have to be fundamentally as smart as your characters, right? Because there's a lot of ways around that. For one thing, if you know what they're going to do, you can make them seem smarter than they really are.
Yeah, I always write my characters dumb just to make me feel better.
But I do think there is a certain time where you're trying to like write a character that is fundamentally smarter than your ability to be smart. And it's okay if you do that when you're 18 or 19 or 20, because like your brain isn't done growing yet. Like you're still a child.
Yeah.
I know that you're legally adult, but like you're still like a little baby out in the woods. You don't know fucking anything. You're 19. What do you know about serial killers?
I think
that's okay.
It's so interesting because I think when you're younger, you're drawn towards the idea of brilliance and like you want to portray brilliance on screen and what makes someone a genius because you think that you yourself are a genius because you have this young, immortal ego. But when you get older, you realize that the best cinema and the best stories are about the more modest aspects of personalities. It's not about brilliance. A lot of the time, the best stories are about like kindness or patience or I don't know, something far more pure, something more interesting to look into as an idea. It's
also like good dialogue isn't marked by being smart. Good dialogue is marked by being honest. So characters can not say smart things, but if they're being like honest about it and it feels true to the character, and again, not honest as in not lying, as in true to what they would say, that can be really great dialogue, even if it would like on the page maybe read as a dumb line. I know a lot of times that like I've seen a script and someone has like critiqued the dialogue and then we see it in the edit room and I'm like, that is a great moment.
Yeah.
It is really, really solid, even though the line sounds weird. But when you're trying to do the only characterizing thing about this character is that they're like brilliant and clever, then like it really shows if you're not as brilliant and clever. And it's like that earth-shattering moment when you're young, even if you're like 28 and you're just starting to get your foot in the door, where you realize that you are not the secret undiscovered genius who is going to show everyone that like your first time you fucking nail it, because no one is that.
And once you realize that and you do remove that ego, you become a far better writer.
Way
you really
better.
Do. I think about the stories that I had envisioned when I was like 17 or 18, and it was always about a woman that was brilliant, but not necessarily always just in terms of intelligence. She was brilliant socially and she was enigmatic. And I was just trying to write a character that I wished I could be. And it's not interesting to write the character you wish you could be. It's interesting to write the person you are. It just is. Yeah. Because you yourself are a very flawed and interesting individual. Everyone is very interesting. And everyone has, I think the flaws in a character are far more indicative and revealing than the positives in a character as well. But I find them the most interesting aspect of character creation.
But to get back onto our comedy podcast, the thing that I
that's what I was gonna say.
The thing that I think is the best about dialogue is when they shit their pants and they go, "Uh-oh, I just did a little poopy. Perhaps I should resolve this in the bathroom."
In the words of Michelle St. Clair, not good radio.
Oh.
How does it feel?
Brutal.
Yeah.
Feels mean. So why do you still make bad radio?
What did you say? Literally, what did you say? You whispered too much.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What I said is, uh-oh, I think I've made a little shot in my panties. I've got to go resolve this in the bathroom. Beep. Oh, I'm back. I cut out me resolving that in the bathroom.
But I watched the whole thing.
You watched the whole thing.
Why'd you eat it?
Staring into the... Fuck you.
Why?
Just-
It did look yummy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. When you shot, it's waste. When I shot, I'm more efficient than you are. It's actually raspberry flavored.
It's actually your mega brain and your brilliant mind that
My
make
brilliant
you
mind knows
shit
how
out little nuggets of wisdom and
Yeah. Some of them,
pearls.
sometimes they taste like a raspberry like muesli bar, and it's like nutrient efficient. And sometimes they taste like a little chicky nugget, and it's good for a
yummy.
snack.
Yummy.
Because I'm just better, you know?
You're right. This was a better conversation
This
than
was a
what we were
better-
talking about prior in terms of
What
character
I think is that
creation.
it's much funnier. As you can tell, we're well honed in the art of comedy.
Michelle, do you want to hear some trivia?
Oh, you don't want to keep talking about this?
I think I'm ready to move on.
Sure, I'm okay with some trivia then.
So, as I said, the sequel was originally planned in 2000, and Michael Douglas
wild.
declined to reprise his role as Nick Curran, admitting that there were also issues regarding his age. And I like that.
I appreciate that.
Because I feel like it sounds that he thought he was too old for the role at that point.
Yeah.
If he had to get a facelift 8 years prior, probably.
I think also he could have been, though, an older mentor for a young detective who's also investigating a novelist who is a suspect, and he could have been like, all right, what you gonna do? This is Michael Douglas. What you gonna do? You're gonna have sex with her. And they're like, that's irresponsible. Karen, why would you do this? Like, that's what I did, and it worked perfectly every time. This is Michael Douglas as he's gotten older.
Are you just morphing into Al Pacino? Is that what this is?
Attica! What you gotta do? You gotta find the mayor.
Robert Downey Jr. was set to star,
Wow.
but he had to drop out when he was charged with drug possession.
That makes sense.
Kurt Russell was then attached at some point, but he
that would have been
bailed
great.
because he felt uncomfortable with all the nudity.
Oh.
Imagine Sharon Stone. Pierce Brosnan refused to play the male lead role because of its distasteful elements.
What? He's Pierce Brosnan. Where does he
Yeah.
get off being choosy? He's not.
Bruce
Anyway.
Greenwood, I looked this guy up and still can't remember who that is, was set to star but dropped out because he hadn't been signed on yet and feared the actors' strike. Benjamin Bratt was
Well, that guy
banned
needs
by
his
Sharon Stone
union.
because he's not a good actor. Well, for saying she said he's not a good enough actor.
Whoa!
That's pretty fucking tough. Imagine being like, yeah, man, you got the role. Hang on, Sharon says you're shit.
Sharon doesn't think you're very
She's
good.
not down to fuck. Rupert Everett publicly expressed
Ooh.
his anger after being turned down to star opposite
Ooh.
Sharon Stone by MGM for being this is what the CEO said of MGM, this is what the CEO said about Rupert Everett, that he's a pervert who would never be accepted
Whoa.
by the American public in this role.
What the fuck?
And I tried to look into this a little bit more. I don't understand. I just thought that was so interesting. I left it in because I don't understand.
Does-
is it because he's gay? Is it because...
Oh, maybe. Because I was
Yeah.
going to say, does this guy know something about Rupert Everett? But especially the bit that flagged for me is like, maybe it's not about Rupert Everett, is like American audiences will never find him. I'm like, oh, because fucking cartoons did that, by the way, for like decades, especially in the 90s, of like censoring especially queer characters in Japanese anime when adapting it for US screens, including in something like Cardcaptor Sakura, where they basically recut the whole show to be around a supporting character because he was a boy.
Fuck.
And they didn't think that little girls would like cartoons.
Fuck.
Right.
That's so insane.
This fucking guy... Rupert Everett would have been so good. I mean, I love David
great.
Morrissey,
He's
but that
so
would have been
charming.
great.
He's a
yeah.
leading man. He's got the gravity to him, and he's got the sex appeal. Like, he would have been great.
The Importance of Being Earnest movie is not super great, but I found him very good in that. He's easily the best part of that movie.
Saint Trinians. Need I say more?
I never watched it.
Need I say more?
You need to say more. I've never seen it.
Well, he's pretty good in it.
Oh, okay.
Paul Verhoeven, director of the original Basic Instinct, disliked this movie.
Yeah, that tracks.
He named the
Me
lack of
too.
a strong male lead
What?
to balance
Oh, what
out
the
the character of Catherine Trammell.
What the fuck?
Everyone, there's so much fucking controversy about this male lead. Everyone's like, the guy they chose was shit, and all the other people that they were going to choose was shit. Like, everyone fucking hates it.
That makes I mean, look,
And I like how it deflects from Sharon Stone's fucking problems in the
Yeah.
film because she wasn't great.
Also, like, look, we've already said that, like, David Morrissey's character wasn't great in this, and David Morrissey himself, he wasn't given a lot to work with, but this is not one of his stronger roles. But I can't imagine being David Morrissey and everyone bringing the blame down squarely on you for not being a good male character. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Rude, Verhoeven.
This is something I find just genuinely interesting. Not that I necessarily believe it, but the film's failure led some critics to question if there is still an audience for films with sex scenes due to the availability of pornography on the internet.
That is a fully unhinged take Wait, so they watched this movie front to back and they said the problem with it is that I already watch porn.
I think it's an interesting argument though, because no, because it's not about sex scenes. I think the fact that I feel like erotica had a much bigger market in the 70s and 80s because you couldn't access porn as quickly as you can today and as easily.
The last thing I would describe about
films are definitely on a decline because of that.
Yeah, I think that's partly because Disney fully owns over 50% of the industry.
That's
the
very
last
true.
thing I would describe the vast majority of internet pornography that gets blasted at you if you try and find any pornography is erotic.
Yeah, that's very true.
Erotic, sex scenes
it fills the same gap.
No,
they're so different. No, I know what you're saying, but I feel like for some people it fills a similar gap.
But that's crazy. I guess what I'm saying is that pornography is like a masturbatory aid. It's sometimes just a sexual aid because you can watch it with a partner and stuff. It can be fun. But if you're watching Basic Instinct just to jack off, I don't think you're the majority of the ticket sales for that movie.
I don't think you understand men. Because I've met men that are like, I went through this entire actress's
Hey, I thought I did for years and I was wrong, okay?
Yeah, I went through this entire actress's filmography just to hope that I could see her naked because that's what men are like.
But that's not even the same thing as that's not that doesn't displace pornography even.
Yeah, but again, I'm not saying that it necessarily does, but I think the fact that men might have sought out certain films because there's a sex scene and they didn't get access to seeing a lot of sex scenes. But now, I mean, anyone would do that. But now with pornography, it's just a lot easier to do it. And I think they're basically saying that the erotic film market has declined since the birth of the internet because people are no longer seeking films for that reason.
But also, conservative mothers spent 20 and then before that, 60 years specifically trying to get sex scenes taken out of movies. It is great. This scene doesn't even have that many sex scenes in it. It's not even that hot. Why the fuck would you watch this movie and go, pornography is why this doesn't work? It sucks.
Yeah.
It's a bad movie.
There's such a good and valid place for sex scenes in movies. It's to explore intimacy.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. But if you think that some men don't watch films for the erotic element to get off to it, you're wrong.
What I'm saying is that's not why most people go and watch those movies. So I don't think it's why there's no erotic movie.
Well, think about how in the 70s and 60s, for instance, in America, in LA, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was called a something theater.
Oh, you mean pre-Reagan? This is important to my counter argument after you make yours.
These two brothers set up a theater and they made basically pornography, but they could market it as erotic films, but it was basically softcore pornography, and that created a huge market for erotic films because they could play it at the theater and people could go and just jack off. And these films no longer exist because we have pornography, and I think that's what they're trying to say.
But that's different than erotic thrillers, and
it is.
That is just softcore pornography. And also, again, the 60s and 70s, there's a lot of things that were more conservative, but also things were less codified.
Yeah.
Pre-80s Reagan and then evangelicals winning all of these ultra-conservative arguments and making us think that we're still making progress in some ways.
But I just wonder, I looked into this because I thought it was interesting. The erotic film industry has declined, and it is because of pornography. Sure. But I understand your arguments about no one would seek this out to get off.
I'm saying they said the reason that this movie didn't land is because of pornography, and that's completely untethered from reality.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
There's no way you watch a movie on this list.
You know what's problem? The sex scenes. Everything else, mwah,
I could watch this anywhere.
But I hated the bit where we saw David Morrissey's bare naked ass. I've got porn for that. And it's all David Morrissey.
It's all David Morrissey. And his butt's much stronger than what I've got.
It's the filter is way better. The great angles. Before agreeing to perform the full frontal nude scene, Sharon Stone invited a friend over to watch the original Basic Instinct. During watching the film, Stone, by her own admission, stripped down totally naked and asked her friend if she could still pull it off.
Oh.
I don't know.
That's like a fun story, but that also makes me feel devastated emotionally because I also get the impulse. Because I get the impulse sometimes of showing a friend my body and really genuinely going, do you think I'm attractive? Because I
strip down totally naked.
I want someone's unbiased opinion.
Is that why you're naked today?
That's why I'm fully naked while we're recording and sweating. Do I look hot?
You can still pull it off.
That's good. That's great. But I get that impulse as a very vulnerable human being, and it devastates me that it's Sharon Stone, very beautiful woman, asking that of her friend. Like, that makes me go like, man, that, like, I don't know, the things that we say about famous people can be brutal sometimes. She should have more self-confidence in her ability to continue pulling it off.
It just doesn't surprise me at all that Sharon Stone questions if she'll still be attractive on screen because she's now older. Like, that just checks out.
It doesn't surprise me. That's why I'm sad.
It's wrong. But, like, that's show business, baby.
I told you a vulnerable thing about myself, and the conclusion, that's showbiz.
I told you can pull it off. Fuck, what do you want? Sharon Stone agreed to reprise the role of Catherine Trammell in a pay or play arrangement, meaning she got fully paid whether the film would ultimately be made or not.
I think that's a shrewd business choice when you hear about Basic Instinct 2, the BBC co-production.
I think it's essentially because of that. That's also part of the reason that the film got delayed, is that she made that deal back in 2000. And when they were potentially not going to make it, she was like, well, you still have to pay me. And they were like, well, fuck, we better make it now.
I also reckon she could have commanded a higher fee. And so then that would cause budget problems when trying to, like, oh, we can't secure the funding, but we have to pay Sharon Stone this amount. Like, I also like the idea of pay or play, because I know when I get booked for a job, I can't book other things at the same time.
Yeah.
So if something gets cancelled, I didn't do the work, but I'm like, you just ruined my ability to get work.
That's what she actually said. She was like, I sued them because essentially I had waited around for a year or two not taking a job, and I lost up to $110 million worth of earnings.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like, that was her claim. And so they settled it out of court, and then they made the movie.
And it's like, similar to the Scarlett Johansson suing Disney thing, where it's like, yeah, this wealthy person, like, they're making way higher amounts than they probably should. These earnings should be distributed better. However, this is still, like, a labor issue.
Yeah, there's still a professional getting fucked over by people in their career. Like, it's still, it is. It's still an issue, and it is
still like a producer, a like capital owner trying to withhold payment from a laborer, even if the laborer is getting grossly overpaid.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some reviews?
I would love to.
Reviews! On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 6%.
Whoa!
Pretty bad.
Whoa!
The site's critical consensus reads, unable to match the suspense and titillation of its predecessor, Basic Instinct 2 boasts a plot so ludicrous and predictable it borders on so bad it's good.
Agreed.
Here is a review left by Nigel Andrews of the Financial Times. Morrissey gives a good impersonation of a lobotomized Liam Neeson. Possibly the only way to play a character dead from the script upwards. Lobotomized Liam Neeson. Yeah, I get it.
David
I get you.
Morrissey, I love you.
You're better than this.
But they're right.
Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian wrote, poor Sharon Stone. She's still big. It's the erotic thrillers that got small.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like we've heard from Peter Bradshaw before. All these critic reviews, was this actually released in theaters?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What was the box office?
I didn't get it. Actually, let me look it up. Let me look it up right now.
The whole time I was thinking this, like, especially seeing it, I'm like, surely this is made for TV. I know I asked and you clearly said no, that, like, is it a BBC co-production? But I was like, surely it must be, though, right?
Hang on. Let me look it up.
I should have spent more time roasting the cinematography. For a theatrically released film, this is some TV shit.
What do you think the budget was?
When I thought it was made for TV, like
Welcome
$2 million.
to my game. Tell me, traveler, what do you think?
2006, but
What
it's a
he thinks
sequel,
the
but it's
budget
Sharon
be.
Stone.
Answer me, those are riddles. They're
2006, we hadn't quite eliminated the mid-tier movie at $12 million. Higher or lower?
So much higher. The budget was so much higher.
No. How high was it?
$70 million.
$70 million, and this is what they made?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What do you think the box office was?
5.
Higher.
Higher? How much higher, though?
It was 38 million.
38. That's still a
shit.
bomb. That's still half. 75? I spent this whole time thinking this was like a $3 million BBC production.
No, it's like definitely by a good production house. MGM planned to produce the sequel.
This is what it looked like? Oh my God. We've already roasted this movie, but I feel like I would have been even harsher if I knew that up front. Holy shit.
Still produced by MGM.
Oh my God.
And C2 Pictures and Intermedia. That was the 3 production houses attached.
This is even worse than I thought it was. 75 and this is what was made?
Yeah.
Oh my, this scratches my specific itch of like movies with massive budgets that are complete clusterfucks.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Yeah, it's fucked.
Holy shit. Okay, yeah, reviews.
Here's an IMDb review. It is a 10 out of 10 review left by TVCN 273037.
Okay.
It's called Everything I Had Hoped For. I'm not a usual commentator on this website, but seeing how underrated this movie is, I endeavor myself to write some comments and remarks about it. I love the setup. I had fun watching this movie, straight to the point. Love this guy. Perhaps because Kat is everything I wish I could be. Probably a lady, my apologies. I am not going to post spoilers or reveal plots, but there are things that I really found amazing. The way she manipulates people, it's just so divine. That's a very underrated movie. I lack of arguments here. I usually go enjoy and then speak a little about it. When you go to the movies, it's to have fun. And I really enjoyed this 1 hour, 53-minute movie. Did ya? I stayed in the dark room. A must-seen.
Don't we all?
Over and over again. Perpetually in the dark room. A must-seen over and over again until the delight fades away. Let's not try to be so critical about it. Thank you for reading. Great structure.
Yep.
Great vibes.
Nestled in that quite esoteric review is quite like an earnest description of just the movie-going experience.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I stayed in the dark room.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the 1 hour and 53 minutes.
No, the bit for me is normally I see a movie and then talk a little about it. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
talk a little about it.
That's cute.
Well, the red flag is she manipulates people. It's just so divine. And here is another 10 out of 10 review left by White Fox. And it's labeled
Whoa.
Rating A1, freaking haters, get a life! 3 exclamation points. How in the world did this movie get so many 1 ratings?
This is the hill to die on.
These people rating 1s and whatnot have to be little children who shouldn't even be watching this movie in the first place. This is a thriller mystery movie. I suggest if you don't have the patience or brains for movies like this, then stay home watching movies like Dorm Days and Over the Hedge. All of these words, by the way, are capitalized.
Oh my God.
Like, no, I mean like the first. Like,
Oh,
it has,
right. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't explain that
So it's
well.
one big title.
It's one big title with a trademark at the end. And for those of you who didn't understand the plot, it clearly all comes out in the ending of this movie. I was also amazed on how beautiful Sharon Stone still looks. See, Sharon, you had nothing to worry about. Anyways, this movie got a 10 from me. I've seen far lame movies not even worth a production. Not even worth a production.
Wow.
That got a 10. You critics think it's easy to act in a movie like this? Where you switch up between different personalities and different acts? I wish you would try it.
What?
Point being, get a life. Very few movies deserve a 1, and you guys are all haters. 10 out of 10.
This guy's got a real chip on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Neo, there are 2 options. You take the blue pill, you watch Over the Hedge, go back to your normal life, watch anything else. You take the red pill, I show you Basic Instinct 2, and you see how deep the rabbit hole goes. That's this guy as Morpheus.
What pill do I take to watch Dorm Days?
The green one, another one.
Well, Michelle, that was their review. What is yours?
Okay, look, this movie's shocking on every level, and I was going to give it low, and then you told me that it was made for $75 million, and it's actually a fully funded studio movie, which means I have to rate it even worse, because again, if I saw this as like a pilot for a mediocre BBC police procedural that they always love, I would go, that sucks, and turn it off. And this, oh my God, I can't describe to you how much that has fully shaken the foundations of my understanding of this movie. Also, everyone in it did a bad job. Even David Thewlis, I don't think, did a great job.
Yeah, he did.
It's also idiotic and it's repetitive because it just repeats Basic Instinct 1. You know what the worst thing to do for a mystery noir thriller is for your sequel? Just do the 1 again. That's terrible. It's also like shockingly boring for a lot of the middle of it and hard to focus on, which makes me want to even like rub its face in the dirt and go like, eat it. I'm gonna give this I think this is one of my worst ratings. This is 1.5. I really think this is bad. But with the caveat that, yeah, I'd watch this again with someone. It's terrible. But I'm obsessed with this kind of bad. That's why we made this podcast.
It truly is so bad it's good. My rating is, it hinges around the fact that, like, it's not Dorm Days and it's not Over the Hedge. Which was a real shock for me.
It was a bummer.
Yeah.
At one point there was a hedge and I was like, oh, no little funky creatures came out.
As you say, it's surprisingly boring for how bad it is in the middle. It's surprisingly boring. It's got a strong start and a fucking insane end, but I think that a lot of the film really slogs on. It's got great actors giving the worst performances of their lives, and no one wanted to be there. No one wanted to be there. They were all there to make money out of that enormous $70 million budget.
Yeah.
But I did have a good time this week. And again, my it's all about tolerance, not about quality. And I actually, no, when I think about it, I really couldn't tolerate this film. I guess for me, 1.8 out of 10.
1.8, so a little higher than mine, but still very low.
Yeah, still very low.
I do also want to add one extra thing of why exactly mine is so low. Stop casting Indira Varma as just someone's wife or ex-wife.
100%.
She's better than this. She's so good.
So much better. Oh my God, she's the ex-wife in Luther, right?
Yeah. Stop it.
Well, Michelle, that was Basic Instinct 2. Guys, friends, listeners, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter under Rate Descend Pod. You can find us on TikTok under Rating Descending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. And you can email us anything. We're here to help. We're here to listen. We're your family now. We're your friends. Except don't email after 2 a.m.
No, then I'll turn into a gremlin.
She's just one step away.
So please, international listeners, time zones, pay attention. You can also find us on our own social media. You can always find me active on both Twitter and Instagram at michelle.stclair.
And you can rarely find me on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward. That's a lie. I will look at everyone's stories.
Or, pretty please, and this is the time that we're asking for a favor,
please
leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify's new review feature or anywhere else where you are allowed to leave a review or tell your friends.
And did we say please?
Please. Start a Reddit and start talking about it.
Yeah. But make sure the Reddit's still about how sexy we are.
Do what every great Reddit does. Rapidly descend into talking about how it's not as good as you think it is.
Yeah, and then get good karma, you assholes.
Yeah, but, engagement.
Well, Michelle, that was Basic Instinct 2. What are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching the 2004 live-action Fat Albert.
Oh, my God.
With Kenan Thompson.
Sorry, wait. What's the difference between Fat Albert and Norbit?
Fat Albert was a cartoon.
Okay.
A very, very, landmark cartoon in America that never was syndicated in Australia, as far as I know, so we don't have any cultural references to it. Norbit is a completely unrelated and unadapted Eddie Murphy movie.
Okay.
I don't even think he's fat in the movie.
Okay, all right. I have a misunderstanding what Fat Albert is entirely. Okay. I guess I'll find out in a week's time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild time.